Hey coders, I'm going to give you kind of a quick video on what we're going to be doing just instruction wise. It's not much work to do. I just want you to spend more time kind of thinking out your app and what features you can and cannot implement. Um, so go ahead and watch this video right here, or you're already clicking on it because you know you're already listening to this. But this is what I want you to do. First thing I want you to do is go ahead and go to the link to the four major types of apps and go and click on this link. Okay, so these are the four types of apps that I told you guys you should be thinking about how to make your app. The first one is a Quiz Me app. So if you hit the run button on this bubble, you can kind of see what it's about, right? It will, you'll click on take a quiz, and it'll say, well, which one's the answer? And you're going to click on something, and you'll click submit, and it's going to say correct or not correct. You're going to say another question, and then someone's going to click something, in your case, incorrect. You go to the next one, select, correct, and you keep going. And this is one of the types of apps that you could make. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make the basic code for each one of these. Okay, so the basic code for each one of these. So every day or two, I'm going to make a video on the QuizMe app, and I can show you how the code works from basically scratch. Okay, um, so that's one app that you could program or implement into your app. The second one is a decision maker. So this is how this one works, right? You're going to hit run, and you're just going to test it out for today. Okay, so obviously you're going to say how it works, but when you click on make a decision, well, you have a question, and you're going to say, well, which one? And I'm going to go, okay, well, this one or that one. Once you click on it, you go, okay, well, make another one. Why or why not? So it's kind of like a decision tree. And then last, you'll answer a third question or something, and you'll click on something, and you'll say, oh, now it's going to give you some type of result. Now you can do this for certain things like personality apps, or like, what is your personality? What's your zodiac sign, or some of those type of apps that use this type of decision tree where you have multiple results for questions. Now, I do want to say though, you do want to be careful with this one because basically each result you're going to have to implement. So be careful with how many you have. And again, I'm going to show you the basic prototype code for a problem like this. Okay, let's go ahead and go to um, the next app and try to see what that does. So again, these are the types of code that you guys have the ability to code and add to your app. Now, if you have a feature in your app that it's much more complicated than the ones that we discussed in these four, there's a high probability that you can't implement it. So we're gonna basically create like we ask them, it's like, oh, take the GPS data and do something like that. We're not going to actually be able to do that because you guys don't have the coding skills, nor does App Lab have the capability of taking your GPS data. So we're going to basically fudge it, that part. We'll basically create something to make it look like it actually does what it's doing, but it's not actually doing it because we don't have those features in the code.org. Okay, so next one's a list manager. So this is a simple app where if you click run, and you hit the view list, it gives you a list. So now this thing isn't quite actually done, but let's say you wanted to add an item. So you want to say, let's say tomatoes or something. Tomato. Okay, tomatoes. I add it. It should add tomatoes to my list. I should be able to say, oh, did I put it on my list? I hit done, and it should have this thing done. And once it's done, maybe later I can click on these X's and confirm that I can delete them. Okay, so this is another type of app that I'm going to take time to teach you how to code and features in case you want to have a list associated with your app. Okay, and the last type of feature that I'm going to help you implement is like a crowd type app, a social media app, right? So if you hit run and you hit the crowd, you should be able to say, hey, I'm a user and I want to submit something. I want to say, YOLO, everybody, add it. It should add YOLO here, and it should say my user, right? And then you should be able to do something like, oh, submit and say you'd like someone else's thing. So I should be able to like other people's things and maybe even down like other people's things, and then say my name next to it. Okay, and you should be able to create an app like that. Okay. All right. Well, that's kind of like the four types of features or main apps that you could make. Now, your app could be complicated and include a series of all these things, but again, try to keep your app low scale. You're going to get, let's say, 2.5 weeks to implement this program. So we're going to cover a little bit of features every single day until eventually you're done with writing your program, similar to what we did our game on. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and go to the next part of our instructions. So that's kind of a link to the four apps. So today you're just going to take a look at it. You got to think about your app again and see which part you can code, which part that you probably can't. Okay. I want you to take a tricycle poll. So right here, there's a third link. You're going to click on the tricycle poll, and the tricycle poll is going to say, hey, what feature of your app do you need help coding? So some of the things you might say is, oh, Mr. Wen, how do I incorporate like GPS data or something like that? And I will have to look into that and see if Code.org allows you to do it. If not, um, it's not going to happen. But again, we're probably going to spend the next 4 to 5 school days going over the code on how to do the basic generic apps. And then eventually I'll come back to this and go, okay, now that we cover the four basic ones, let's see what ideas you guys are coming up with and which ones you need help programming. So I'm going to basically do a daily video a day teaching you guys how to do these coding features, but I need to figure out which ones you want help on. Okay. So go ahead and add your ideas here. I'll come back to it and look at it and use that to make my future videos. And here you go. And there's your link to your app. So this is the link to your final app project. For me, it's going to be my sufficient software app that I'm going to probably finish coding at some point. But this will link you to your app, and you're going to start writing your app. Now, so far, the only code you really have is how to go from one screen to another. So, I'm going to click on, play. I'm going to submit something. It's going to say your score is. I'm going to click play again. You know, and it's basically just the skeleton of your app, but it basically works because your thing is able to run. It can go to different pages. You can play it. You can go back to home. You can play it, go back again, assuming you're making some type of app similar to this. But basically, all you created was how does your screens kind of connect using the on event and set screen. So you're just creating the skeleton. We're going to talk about actually how to code the individual parts. So I'm going to make, again, videos daily on how to make the different aspects. Now, even if you don't have, for example, a quiz app, but you can see from the code that I created how one might work. Okay, so basically, again, these are the four major apps that your skills allow you to implement, and I would teach you how to make one of these. And you can look at the code and go, oh, okay, I can add that feature, or that's how that code works, or that's how that feature works inside of code.org. Okay, all right, so we're going to review coding, review how to make these four major types of apps. So that's all you have to do, guys, today. And take your, I'm going to probably add take your attendance sheet. So make sure you click on the attendance, watch the video, take a look at the four types of apps. Again, try to figure out what features you can and can't do. Take the tricycle poll. That's kind of the big thing you can do today. And wait for me for tomorrow. And go ahead and keep looking over your app and kind of start figuring out what feature you can code and can't code. And then maybe start trying to implement your app. And I will come back tomorrow with a video on the first one, the quiz, and get you guys started. All right, that's all. See you guys.